What's up, people? What's going on? So we're live, huh? Okay, so trucking. I'm a truck driver. I'm a truck driver YouTuber. I'm a YouTube trucker. But you shouldn't listen to me. And you damn sure shouldn't listen to a lot of the bigger channels. Alex Nino, Just Trucking. Um, those are the main two that come to mind as some of the bigger trucking YouTube channels, right? Now, I'm a very small trucking YouTuber. I got like just over 10,000 subscribers. And, you know, a lot of you guys tell me straight up that you guys are influenced to become a truck driver by watching my channel. And if you're watching my channel, you're probably watching Alex Nino. You were probably watching Alex the Trucking Guy. You were probably watching Just Trucking, Road Run Ananias, Line Pack 392, whoever else. So they what Trucking with Rex. I mean, he kind of fell off, right? Just you're probably watching a lot of us truck drivers that post about our job on YouTube, right? And you guys see us, and it looks like we're having a good time, more or less. It looks like we're making good money, more or less. And that may be true. The money part may be true. We're probably making more money than you if you're working like at an Amazon fulfillment center. If you're working, I had someone leave a comment today and their job sounds so fucked up. It sounds like a nightmare of a job. This dude told me that he's looking to get his CDL, right? Because at his job, he works at a warehouse where he constantly has to pick up 80 pounds. Like, that's his job. He has to pick up 80 pounds. Now, I don't know if these are cases or sacks of mail or whatever, but he works in the warehouse where he's constantly lifting up this heavy shit, and he's warehousing, and his supervisors are assholes. They talk down to him, they treat him like shit, they lie to him. He has to fight to get his days off, and he's been there for 12 years, and he started at 17, and he's at $25 an hour, right? He's worked his way up to $25 an hour. Well, if you get your CDL, you can walk into jobs that pay you $25 an hour, more than that, like $25 an hour or more than $25 an hour, right? It's pretty common. Like on the low end in food service, Fresh Point in Turlock, California, they start you off at $23 an hour. You work a lot of overtime, so you quickly jump up to $34 or $35 an hour in your overtime. And Cisco starts you off at like 32 out here in Modesto. I know because I went on the interview. US Foods, I think them too, they start you off at like 32, 35, and then you get your overtime on top of that. So yeah, in a situation like his, where he's not making a lot of money and he's physically working his ass off. Now you're gonna work your ass off at Cisco and US Foods and Fresh Point and food service too, and at Coca-Cola or Pepsi. That's still a physical job, but you're making more money. You're making way more money, and yeah, you got a supervisor, and that's just a roll of the dice if you're gonna have a good or bad supervisor. But when you're at work as a truck driver, you don't constantly have a motherfucker like right here looking over your shoulder at what you're doing. Like, I mean, I've seen it, dude. I was at a store the other day that I delivered to, and there was this guy. He was putting cardboard into the crusher, right, to condense the cardboard, and he was working, and some dude who was like either like a team lead or a supervisor just walked past this dude like an asshole, looked at him all serious, and was like, get to work. That kind of shit. That, like, dealing with a Karen supervisor or a team lead that looks at you like a dick. It's like, get to work. Get to work. What are you doing? Get to work, right? You don't have that in trucking. You don't, right? Now, in trucking, one reason why you don't have that is because, we are professionals, and this is a skilled trade. It is a skilled trade. So just by having your Class A and being a skilled trade worker, you're looked at a little bit more better than someone who's just putting cardboard into a crusher. So your supervisor is going to look at you and be like, you know what, Augustine, he's a professional. I know he's not perfect, but he's going to get this load there on time. And if he doesn't get the load there on time, he's going to call me and tell me about why he can't get the load there on time, right? They're relying on you. And for the most part, the job is so easy, especially if you're running dedicated freight and it's not like hardcore OTR where, you know, you're like minute by minute. If you're on a chill dedicated route or on food service and you're on a route, you don't have a supervisor on your ass because they trust that you're a little bit more professional and trustworthy than someone that's just, you know, using a scanner in a warehouse. I mean, it sounds fucked up, but that's one reason why you don't have a manager on your ass. And the other obvious main reason is because you're out on the truck, right? Now, some would argue and say that the ELD is your manager that's on your ass, but dude, that's a stretch, right? Yeah, the ELD is watching you. I have a driver inward-facing camera and an outward-facing camera, right? I don't have safety constantly calling me, right? I'm pretty much left alone. But there's a big difference from the ELD and a camera, even if it's going off. Because just because it's going off, dude, I have the camera going off for literally nothing, right? Just for literally having both hands on the wheel, and especially when I'm in traffic and the radar's going off, yeah, that camera goes off sometimes, right? And like one time when I brought to the attention of my supervisor of a mistake that I made on the freeway going through road work, and I wanted to bring it to her attention, like, hey, I fucked up here. I should have did this, that, and the third to be more safe. I want to bring it to your attention because it's probably going to get sent to you anyways. So let me just tell you about it right now. Let's go over it. We had to go through like 5 other recordings of me just sitting there like this, right? To find the video clip that I was referring to in the road work, right? So, you know, yeah, you got the camera on you, it's going off, the ELD is on you, right? And if you go over your hours of service, you could get a write-up or talk to or whatever, because you're not supposed to go over your hours of service or whatever. But dude, that's different than having a supervisor always. And do you ever work those jobs where you got a supervisor on your ass and your supervisor's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Right? So I understand that a lot of you guys, I went off on that tangent and I want to bring it back to, you got to be careful with who you listen to on YouTube as far as trucking. I went off on that tangent though, talking about why the job is better. It's probably better than your shitty job that you're working, because trust me, I've been there too. I've worked shitty jobs. I've worked shitty trucking jobs. But the shitty trucking jobs that I've worked are way better than any fucking warehouse job, construction jobs that I've been on. Not when I was at even when I was at the general contractor in San Francisco, there were a few foremen that I would work for that I didn't really like, that really had a stick up their ass and a fucking attitude, right? One in particular that I did not fucking like at all, dude. Man, fucking, right? You don't have that in trucking. So, you know, when you guys see me like doing my thing, and just for the fact that I'm able to vlog at work, I mean, I don't think you could vlog at work at your warehouse job, right? I don't think you could do that. I mean, maybe you can, but for the most part, you better not be on your phone, right? And you can't be on your phone when you're driving. I'm wearing a GoPro, and I'm mainly vlogging when I'm out of the truck, connecting or whatever, and I'll set up a camera by the mirror, and I'm like hands-free and all that. But that, and as long as I'm staying within my hours of service, I could stop and get food. I could just do what I want. I could blast music, listen to podcasts, be on the phone with the old lady, or just whatever. You know what I'm saying? I could do my thing. And I don't have a manager like physically right there. So that's one reason I think why my channel influences a lot of people to get into trucking. But another thing that I know is influencing you guys is the money, right? When I talk about I'm not making a lot of money in trucking, what I think is not a lot of money may be a lot of money to you. For example, I had someone tell me that if they could make $1,000 a week, they would be totally happy. That's a big goal for them, to make $1,000 a week. And I'm talking about net $1,000 a week, not gross, but net, right? But dude even told me if he could make like $800 or $900 a week, then that would be really good for him. $800 or $900 a week, dude. I'm looking for another job. $1,000 a week, I'm starting to look for another job, right? That's not a lot of money for me. And, maybe it is for you guys. Like, what? My cousin, she was working at Walmart, and I think she was getting paid like $1,200 every other week, which means she's getting like $600 or $650, give or take, or $600 to $700 a week, right? I would like quit my job if I was getting paid that much, right? But here's the thing, dude. Here's the thing. Sometimes you will have those weeks. Trucking, it's not what a lot of you guys think it is. It's not like you just walk in here and voila, you start making hella money. Or even, you put in your 1 to 2 years, and then just like magic, voila, you're just gonna start making hella money at Walmart, Private Fleet, or LTL, or Hazmat Tanker, or whatever. Dude, it's not. And you're gonna be living like fat, you're gonna be buying cars, you're gonna be in a nice house, you and your old lady are gonna be going on vacations, you're gonna have money to spend. Guys, you really have to be careful with your expectations in trucking, because sometimes for a lot of drivers, once they get into this line of work and you get into the job and you do get your experience and you become an experienced truck driver, you realize, like, hold on, this isn't what I thought. I thought I was going to be making way more money. And then you realize just how little you get paid for the amount of work that you do, right? That's when reality hits you in the face. But one thing that these YouTubers do, me included, right, is we make it look cool, because maybe it is cool or whatever. Like, dude, my job it's gotten a lot better since I've been here. I started off in the sleeper. I wasn't making much money in the sleeper, especially when they hit us with the length limits on my route. Now I'm in the day cab, and I'm able to do more routes. I didn't get an extra route tonight, but tomorrow I'm gonna finish it. I'm gonna finish the week with like 2 more loads, right? And then there's good miles on these loads, so I'll bring in like what net? Like my last paycheck was like $1,200, net. That's not that much for me. It's not that much, right? Good money for me is like $1,500 to $1,600, $1,800, close to $2,000 net a week. That's good money for me. And even then, I'm still looking to make more than that, right? I'm looking to make a couple thousand a week as a company driver. Now, I know that sounds ridiculous, but, dude, I've been putting in hella referrals. I think I'm up to like almost like 30 referrals that I've submitted since last week, Like, I'm definitely referring. I'm utilizing the referral program again. I don't know why I wasn't doing it earlier. Out of 30 referrals that I've submitted so far, and I got 2 more that just came in before I started the stream, like in the email or whatever, I'll probably get some of them, right? Even if I only get 5, that's still a lot of money if they come in on later dates. That could put me to like Especially if I run real hard that week, that could put me easily to $2,000 net what I take home, right? If I get 3 referrals in 1 week, that could put me, yeah, net like $2,500 in a week, right? Especially since I'm going to claim 2 dependents now, so I'm going to be seeing more of my money or whatever. But what I'm talking about, what you have to be careful of is this, especially the bigger YouTubers. A lot of these YouTubers, they don't tell you, I think I do. I mean, if you really follow this channel, you know I'm living with my family right now. I'm living with my mom and my sister right now, okay? But even then, you know, my situation, I could still live with $1,000 a week. I'm not happy with that. I'm not even happy with $1,200 or $1,300 a week, but I could still live with it, and I could maintain pretty good, and I could still save money pretty good, right? But dude, you watch someone like Alex Nino or Just Truckin', and you think you're gonna become a truck driver, especially I think because those two right now, they're owner-operators. I know Justin is. Alex Nino, I know he bought his truck, so I don't know if he's like leased on with his uncle's company or whatever. But dude, if you think you're gonna get into trucking and you're gonna have all the shit that they do, the fat house, the cars and all that, especially for the guys that are looking to become an owner-operator. You know, when I started at CR England, I had a lot of guys in my class at CR England at the trucking school that were talking about they were going to get a year in and then buy a truck. Like they were going to save all their money for a year and then put a down payment on the truck and then buy a truck and become an owner-operator. If they did, I guarantee you, let's say it was 5 of them that actually did that out of my class, just for an example, it would be pretty common that by now, because that was back in 2021 when I got into trucking, when I got my CDL, it's 2025. It would be pretty common that all of them went out of business. At least 4 of them, 4 out of 5 of them for sure must have went out of business to where they probably filed for bankruptcy or sold their equipment and then just shut down their motor carrier number or whatever it is, right? Their DOT number. They just went out of business and got a company job or left trucking altogether, right? Dude, I've been looking at some of these load boards and the price of freight is so fucking cheap right now. Dude, I've been seeing crazy shit. I think I saw like a load from like Turlock to Fontana for like not even $900. I think it was only for like $700 to go from Turlock to Fontana. That is fucking nuts, dude. You could be going into the negative with moving freight that cheap. And that's about the going rate. I saw another load from, I think, Ripon, which was right over here by just north of Modesto, Ripon to Albuquerque, New Mexico for like $1,800. Or no, it was like like just short of $1,900, like $1,895 or something. Dude, after your business expenses and fuel and taxes and all that, you probably walk away with a profit of like $400 or $500 to go from the Central Valley, the 209 Central Valley to Albuquerque, New Mexico. Then once you get to Albuquerque, you got to find a new load, right? That's what's going to happen if you become an owner-operator. You're most likely going to be having to deal with, especially when you're new. If you watch someone like Gentry and Sons, and he's doing heavy haul, and you know what other people do, it's not just YouTube. I've met quite a few people like that I know in my personal life that talk to other truck drivers that they know. It might be their relative, it might be an in-law, it might be a friend, or just someone that they know or whatever. And they talk to these other truck drivers we're back, right? Muted. Are we back? Can you hear me? Oh, dude. Back. Okay, cool. We're back. Cool. Yeah. Back. Cool. All right. Cool. Right on. Yeah. Like, I know people in real life. Yeah. Cool. Right on. I know people in real life that, you know, it's always the people that I know in real life that are excited to get into trucking, that are looking to get into trucking. Go ahead. That are down on their luck. You know, that are in a bad financial space, like they're not making a lot of money. Whether they're in debt or not, whether their credit's good or not, it's usually when they're not making a lot of money and they start asking around, and they might know a cousin or an uncle or an in-law or whatever, or a friend who is an owner-operator, right? That might have his own truck and trailer, whether it's a flatbed or a step deck lowboy, or a chassis to where, you know, they might be hauling, like they might own their own chassis, you know, or they might be doing oversized. They might have the type of rack that they could do oversized with, or whatever, right? You know, to get to that level, guys, to where you own your own rack, to where you're doing your own car hauling, or you own your own, I don't even know what kind of, is that, if that's like a, I don't know, like what type of trailer, the name for a trailer where you're hauling oversized loads and different oversized loads. Like you might even own more than one type of trailer, to where you could be doing logs, crushed cars, heavy equipment on a step deck lowboy. You know what I mean? To get to that point, you've been in trucking for quite a while. Your motor carrier number has a lot of experience, which means you're insured. You're insured to haul different types of freight. You know, like you're well established in the industry. You don't you don't become an owner operator and just jump right into heavy haul. Sometimes not even after your first year of being an owner operator, right? And dude, so here's the thing, right? Tonight, I'm a company driver. I've been in this shit going on 4 years, right? This April is going to be 4 years. Fuck. Yeah, it's been 4 years already. We're already in May. I've been in this shit for 4 years. Tonight, guys, I was struggling to get a trailer parked between two trailers. I was struggling at the Costco depot tonight to park my trailer between two trailers, like in a single slot. It's because I was rushing my setup. I wasn't taking my time. I just really wanted to get the fuck out of there. But even then, dude, usually, even if I rush it, like I still got out and I looked, you know, and I didn't end up putting it in, you know, these slots where I had to do like a 45 or an alley dock. I ended up waiting until this other dude took off with the trailer, and there was all this room up front to pull up and then back up to just straight back it in, right? I kept getting too close to the trailer on my side when I was trying to 45 and alley dock it, right? And dude, usually I could just whip that shit in, but tonight, you know, it just wasn't happening, right? Now just imagine if I was an owner operator, because there's guys that do that. There's guys that literally go and get their CDL and then they run straight to buy a truck, right? A lot of these foreigners are doing that. A lot of these foreigners, they don't get hired to drive for Swift or Knight for their first year, especially the ones that don't know English. No, dude, a lot of the foreigners, they pull their money together with their cousins or their brothers or their in-laws or whatever, and then they'll all help, you know, Sahil or Manpreet or Jose or whoever the dude's name is, right? Jeremiah or fucking, what's the Shanito's name? I don't know, Chin or whoever, right? Like, because these foreigners, they live like in a commune and they invest their money together, and then they'll go buy a truck and then they'll learn alley docking 45 degree as they go as the owner operator, because their family pulled their money together and bought a truck, and now dude's an owner operator and he doesn't even know how to straight back. He doesn't even know how to do a 90 degree alley dock. Doesn't even know how to do a 45 degree backing into a space. And these are the owner-operators that you see at the truck stop that pull out and sideswipe you, that park into the space next to you, even when there's 2 slots and they got room, and they still sideswipe you, or they take off your mirror, right? And they're an owner-operator. How does that happen? Because they didn't start off as a company driver. They got their CDL and went straight into being an owner-operator. You know what I mean? So, you know, someone like that, like say I did that, I would have been 4 years into being an owner-operator. Who knows? Maybe instead of jumping to all these different jobs, I could have been at the point where I was looking to buy my own trailer, like a specialty trailer, like a lowboy or a flatbed or even a reefer or my own tank, like my own tank trailer or whatever, right? That shit takes a long time, dude. It takes paying off debt, saving your money, building up your credit, learning, you know, about trucking, learning about working your clock. Guys, you do not come into trucking and then just within 6 months you're hauling a fucking, you know, a government tractor for the military or a tank on a government contract with your own lowboy or your own oversized truck. Nah, it doesn't happen. Or a boat or a car hauling or even hazmat tanker with your own tank, with your own authority. No, dude, it doesn't work like that. You don't get into trucking and within your first year, you got like a sweet cush union job, right? Nah, man, especially with the company side, dude, the competition out here is fucking crazy. It's so competitive in the trucking job market right now, right? These are things that you need to understand about trucking. You don't walk into trucking and voila, you're gonna start making hella money. There's ways to do it. And I've made videos about how to make money, and I'm just starting to get back on my shit, especially with the referrals, dude. I'm gonna start making way more money with my referrals, yes. It's costing me money to do it, but I'm gonna start making money with my referrals. I'm up to about like 30 referrals that I've submitted since last week, right? They'll take about a month to get through. Not all of them are gonna get through, right? But they'll come through. You know what I mean? But if you think that you guys are gonna get on to trucking and like, you know, you're gonna have a house, a stay-at-home wife, you're gonna be able to spoil your kids, you're just gonna be balling like that, especially if you think you're gonna do that as an owner-operator. If you become an owner-operator today, you're most likely gonna go out of business and go bankrupt. Like, that's just the truth. You are better off if you're just talking about money. If you're talking about money in business, you're better off, and you want to make a lot of money. If you want to make a lot of money in trucking, you're better off being a company driver in today's market. And that's been the case really since 2021, right? It's a trip. Like back in 2021, after lockdown, it was like a light switch went off in the industry, and owner-operators weren't making shit. They just weren't making shit. They went from making like $4, $5, $6, $7 a mile out of the ports of, like, I don't know, Texas ports, the LA ports and all that, right? To, dude, I saw something for $1.35 a mile today on a load board. I saw a few of them for $1.45 a mile, dude, on a load board. Like I said, dude, they wanted you to do a fucking, I think it was a dry load from Turlock, what was that? I think, yeah, Turlock to Fontana for like $700. During the pandemic, that could have probably easily paid out like $2 or $3 grand. You know what I mean? When the rates were up, when the demand was up, you know? Running, because here's the thing, to get to the point in trucking to where you're the next Gentry and Sons and you're doing oversized freight, like moving boats and fucking, you get government contracts and you're moving government tractors for the military and you're moving farm equipment and heavy equipment and shit like that. You're doing flatbed and you're moving around forklifts and scissor lifts and all that kind of shit. You're moving around just heavy, you know, CAT equipment and all this shit, right? Or you're doing your own hazmat tanker, or you're doing lowboy, you're moving, or you're doing car hauling or crushed cars. To get to that level, guys, you're gonna start, you know what I mean, with your own little truck that you financed, you know what I mean, or a piece of shit truck, right, that has a lot of miles on it, like Trucking Unfiltered. He bought a truck that's like 1 million miles, and he doesn't have a truck payment, but he's in the shop a lot, so that's pretty much like his truck payment. So, you know, give or take, it's about the same thing, right? And depending on how many times you got to go to the shop, it might even be worse than a truck payment, because your truck payment is set at like what? Let's say it's set at like $1,500 a month, your truck payment. But say you got to go to the shop, and you're doing shit like rebuilding your transmission, you're changing out your water pump, you blew a head gasket, you're fucking, I don't know, a pitman arm broke, you know, your steering linkage cracked or it's leaking, you know, shit like that. That's going to cost you a lot of money and time. It's not just the money, but it's the time that you're in the shop that you're not able to run another load because you're in the shop. And let's say you're consistently in the shop, you're losing time and money, and you're doing that because you're trying to build your way up to get to where you can haul specialty freight as an owner operator and get into some real money, like oversized or crushed cars or logging or whatever, right? But to get to that point, you're going to struggle. And a lot of people don't survive that struggle. They don't survive the few years as an owner operator that they're building up their business, and they end up going out of business. They end up going bankrupt before they have the chance to save up money, you know, to buy equipment and to get the years in to where they're going to be insured. Because here's the thing, like some insurance companies, they're not going to insure you if you're a brand new owner operator and you're trying to do heavy haul, or you're trying to move farm equipment or whatever, right? They're not going to insure you. They're not going to insure the freight. They're not going to insure your trailer if you're brand new. You're going to have to buy a truck and lease on with like JB Hunt, Swift, John Chrysler Trucking, Prime, or whoever, right? Or what's the one that Bonehead Truckers talks about? TRC Freight, or, you know, one of these carriers that works with owner operators that has freight. You're going to have to work with them. And then let's say that, you know, one of these carriers has a direct customer and you're able to go from A to B, but once you get to B, they don't have a load back. Your carrier doesn't have a load to get you back to point A. So you got to work the load board, the spot market, and pick something up for $1.45 a mile to go from the East Coast back to the West Coast to get back to your home base, to your carrier, to get that good paying carrier or direct customer freight again. And by doing so, you know, just so let's say you put $2,000 in your pocket going from like LA to fucking Nashville, right? You go from LA to Nashville and you were able to put profit of $2,000 in your pocket, right? But once you get to Nashville, your carrier doesn't have a load for you to come back because they don't have freight coming out of Nashville. So you got to work the spot market to go back home. And this is what happens all the time, right? You pick up something for $1.50, $1.45, $1.38 a mile to go back from, and it might not even be in Nashville. You might have to drive down to Georgia to go pick up your next load. So you're deadheading from Nashville to Georgia to pick up $1.45 going from fucking Georgia back to LA. And on your way back, your check engine light comes on and you start overheating, right? Or I don't know, anything happens, right? You pop a tire. That happens a lot on the trailer, especially because the trailers are running recaps. The reason why trailer tires pop and explode all the time is because they're running recaps. All these carriers and trucking companies, they put recaps on the trailers. That's why they explode all the time. So now you're taking $1.45 a mile to get back to LA, and your trailer tire explodes, right? And let's say it was the front trailer tire And, you know, some of the trailer tire, like, you know, like the alligator strip popped the other trailer tire. So now you got two trailer tires on your rear tandem axle, right? One on both dualies that popped, or even just one that popped. Trailer tires are expensive, dude. They're going for like $400 or $500 a tire, right? And you're doing a load to get back to LA at $1.45 a mile. Well, there goes any profit that was left over from that load, and it's most likely going to be dipping in to that $2,000 that you just profited from the direct customer freight going from point A to B. You see how that works? And that happens a lot. And then, dude, on top of that, you still got to pay your own maintenance. You're taking care of your oil changes, transmission fluid flushes, fucking PM, your, you know, whatever. You might be putting money into an escrow account for all this shit. And, dude, because who knows? And then you end up going bankrupt. You end up losing so much money to where you go bankrupt. And you end up being one of these pissed off truckers that's talking about, oh, don't move cheap freight. Trucking isn't what it is. Or say you're pissed off and you're more of like right-wing conservative. You start blaming it all on the foreigners. Oh, the foreigners ruined trucking. You know, they're the reason why we have cheap freight. We need to ban everyone who doesn't know English on the roads and all that. And I agree with that. You should be speaking English if you're going to be a commercial driver, especially for safety. I mean, I think we could have done that back when the dude was going down I-70 and he wasn't going onto the runaway ramps, right? I don't think that dude spoke English. He probably couldn't read English or whatever. But, you know, the reason why a lot of these truckers talk about that is it's because they're not making money. That's really what it comes down to. That's why a lot of them sound like they're outright racist, right-wing truckers, owner-operators, right? Is because they're pissed off because they're not making any money. If these truckers were really making money like that, they wouldn't be bitching and complaining the way that they do, right? Me included, right? We wouldn't be talking about how truckers need to be paid more. If we were paid more, we would just be getting our money. And we might even be flexing like Alex Nino and Just Trucking and everyone else on YouTube, right? Some of the bigger YouTubers. So I just wanted to talk about that, dude. You got to be careful. When you see a lot of these bigger YouTubers on the platform and they're a truck driver, you know, I really doubt that they're going to come out and say, hey, yeah, I'm a truck driver and I got this house and this lifted truck in my garage or in my driveway or whatever, and I got all these toys and my motorcycle and, you know, my cyber truck, you know what I mean? And, you know, yeah, I got all this. I'm a truck driver, but my wife is like a part-time cam girl. My wife does OnlyFans on the side. I'm not joking. I'm not talking about, you know, Alex Nino or Just Trucking specifically, but it might even be a truck driver influencer that you watch on Instagram, right? Or they might not come out and tell you that their wife is a nurse, that their wife is a dentist or a dental hygienist and she's bringing in money. They might not tell you that they're actually in a trust fund, right? Alex Nino might not tell you that he might be into some profit sharing agreement with his uncle's trucking company and he's making more money than just what he's making on his loads. He might even be, you know, like a part-time, you know, like a shareholder within his uncle's trucking company, right? They're not going to tell you that they get help from the family. They're not going to tell you any of that stuff. They're just going to come onto YouTube and do what they got to do to get views. They're going to come onto YouTube and make it look like they live this luxurious lifestyle from trucking, right? Because, dude, I mean, I came onto YouTube and I just started putting a camera on myself because I had a channel a few years ago and I wanted to get back on the platform and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was like, well, fuck it, I'm just going to put a camera on myself. That's what I did last time. And, you know, when I started YouTubing, I was trucking. And that was pretty much all of my life. It's been all my life, right? This job takes over your life. And then by doing so, you know, I'm uploading these trucking vlogs And naturally, I get thrown into the trucking algorithm, right? The trucking niche on YouTube or genre or whatever, along with just trucking, Alex Nino, Alex the Trucking Guy, Roadrunner Naya, Mr. By the Mile, Trucking Unfiltered, all these guys, right? All these people, you know? And then obviously there's like the more dominant channels like Roadrunner Naya, Just Trucking, Nino, fucking Alex the Trucking Guy, you know what I mean? Bonehead Truckers. And yeah, these guys make a lot of money. They're not going to come out and tell you, like, yeah, YouTube paid me $10,000 this month, as well as the money I get from my wife. You know, she's a nurse or a dental hygienist or, you know, an assistant to a lawyer or whatever. And as well as my little money that I get from trucking, we pull all of this together, and that's how I got this Cybertruck, this motorcycle, this house. A lot of people are so gullible that they don't think about that. They just watch these channels and they think, oh, well, if I get my CDL and I become an owner operator or a company driver, you know, I could get a house like Mr. By the Mile. I could get a house like Alex Nino, Just Trucking or whatever. They don't tell you any of this other stuff. They don't tell you, dude. And then what happens is you become a truck driver, and then you're like, okay, I got my truck, I got my own authority, I got all my permits, I'm ready to start moving this freight. And then you go on the load board because you're gonna start at the bottom like everyone else, you know what I mean? And then you're gonna, what's up, George? You're gonna start at the bottom like everyone else, and you're gonna look on the load board like I did the other day, and you're gonna see, oh wow, I could pick up this load from Turlock and take it down to Fontana for $700. You living like Alex Nino? You living like Just Trucking yet? Fuck no, dude. You're going into the negative, especially after your taxes, your maintenance expenses, and your fuel. For $700 from Turlock to Fontana, you're going into the negative, okay? And you're going to do that for a long time until you get your authority established enough to start moving specialty freight, to even save up money to buy your own trailer, your own step deck, or your own lowboy, or your own car hauling rack or whatever, right? You're going to struggle. And here's the thing. Those car hauling racks are so expensive. Some of these flatbeds out here are so expensive, and you're moving that cheap freight, you might go bankrupt trying to get there. Get rich or die trying. You know, metaphorically speaking, you might die. Your trucking business might go out of business trying to, you know, get yourself established to the point where you're able to save up to buy equipment. Gentry and Sons, you know, his big trucking company. Yeah, he might come on here and say that he built it all himself. We don't know that to be true. We don't know that to be true. We don't know if he got help from the family. We don't know if, he pulled out loans and his family helped him pay off loans. We don't know if he came from another line of work, if he had assets before he got into trucking. We don't know if he owned like 2 or 3 houses that he sold off to buy all of this equipment, to buy his shop, to buy his tools, to buy his trailers, to buy his trucks. We don't know if he was gifted like 2 or 3 houses from his family or whatever, and then he sold that off to buy everything that he has today on his YouTube channel. Same thing with Just Trucking. Same thing with Alex Nino. The same thing with anyone that you see on YouTube. You have to be careful, dude. Because if you don't come, dude, look, let's just take it out of trucking, right? You know, some of the original YouTubers that I watched were like FouseyTube, Andrew Hales, Big Dawes TV, Mo and ETV, like the original prankster YouTubers, Vitali, you know. The reason why people like Vitali and Andrew Hales and Cherdleys and Big Dawes TV and Cassidy Campbell and, people like that, Mo and ETV, like the original prankster YouTubers, that Logan Paul, Jake Paul, SS Sniper Wolf, right? The reason why they were able to blow up on YouTube and take YouTube so serious and upload a lot to the point where they got rich and famous? Think about it. Some of them were adults when they were growing on YouTube like that, right? Now, how can a grown adult have time to post on YouTube all the fucking time? Well, a grown adult has bills, right? Well, maybe not these people. Maybe Logan Paul and Jake Paul and Andrew Hales and Big Doss TV and Vitali and FouseyTube. Maybe they come from rich families where mommy and daddy gives them checks to where they don't need to worry about how they're going to pay their rent, where they're going to live, you know, how they're going to eat, right? How they're going to pay for their phone bill, how they're going to put clothes on their back. Maybe FouseyTube and Big Doss TV and Andrew Hales and Vitali, you know, who he's in prison now because he's a dumb motherfucker, you know. But maybe those people got money from mommy and daddy to where they could focus on YouTube to the point where they ended up getting rich off of YouTube. But they came from a rich family in the first place, right? We don't know if that's the same story going on with Just Trucking, Gentry and Sons, Alex Nino, Alex the trucking guy. We don't know that. We definitely don't fucking know any of that. And if they are in a trust fund, if they do get help outside of trucking, I doubt that they're going to come out with it and tell you right here on YouTube. I mean, I do. I'm right here at the crib right now. I'm at my mom's house right now. You know what I mean? I had a house in Las Vegas. I lost it during the pandemic, right? Um, right? Um, if I do start making a lot of money, obviously, I guess I'll be telling you guys. I was doing okay at CR England, and I talked about it, right? So I say all that to say this. Come into trucking at your own discretion, okay? If you become a truck driver, this is like I said. It's like I said time and time before. You're going to be gone. You're not going to be at the house. You're not going to have a work-life balance. And even if you do come home, so you know, I get these comments of people saying, "Oh, I made 130,000 last year. I made 150,000, and I'm home every night." Okay, you're home every night, but for how long? How long? Are you home every night on a sleeper berth? Do you come home every night for 10 hours, and then once your 10 hours is up, you got to go back to work? Or sometimes, dude, I've met people who work food service, and they're not even at the house. They're not even off the clock for a full 10 hours. Right? Their supervisor has them manipulating the hours of service to where it's like, okay, right when you get off work, you go off duty, right? And then you come back, right? Like they go back to the job, and they might even be loading up their trailer and pre-tripping the truck, but they don't go on duty and log into the truck until they're pre-tripped, their trailer is loaded, they're already checked in with the office and got their load assignment for the day. All of which should be logged on duty, but their supervisor doesn't tell them to log into the truck and go on duty until they're literally ready to roll out after they loaded up their trailer, pre-tripped the truck, and got their paperwork. And they've probably been at work for like what? And let's say they had to wait for the warehouse people to get all their cases and fucking palletize it and all that, right? So let's say they were waiting at the job for 2 hours, but you know, they were barely on sleeper berth for 8 hours. You get what I mean? They're manipulating their logs. They're not being honest with their logs, and their supervisor's telling them to do that, you know? So the supervisor could look good to upper management, you know? That type of shit, you know? But yeah, but you're home every night, and you made 150,000. Yeah, but what these people, even in the comments, what they're not telling you is that they've been driving around fatigued, right? Is that they're manipulating their hours of service. They might not be honest. They might not be being honest with it, and it's probably their job that's kind of forcing them to do that. They're not going to tell you any of this shit. They're not going to tell you none of it, dude. If you like trucking, the reason why there's a revolving door is because of everything that I just told you. Guys become owner operators and trying to save money to get to the top. They end up going bankrupt because of all this cheap freight, right? They can't save money. You can't save money at $1.45 a mile or $1.38 a mile. You can't save money in your truck where your truck payment might be $1,700 a month, and you're moving fucking a dry load or a reefer load from Turlock to Fontana, which is Southern California, for $700, right? You're not saving a lot of money if you're moving shit from like Modesto to Albuquerque, New Mexico for $18.95. with the California diesel prices, and then you put in your def, and fucking what if there's like a lumper fee when you get there, and what you definitely gonna have to fuel up the tank at least maybe if you're running duals. Yeah, you'll have to fuel up the tank at least one more time before you get all the way into Albuquerque to your stop. And then let's say if you have a reefer, you got to put fuel into your own reefer. Yeah, dude, you're gonna profit like what, $400 off of that shit. You know what I mean? Maybe $300, right? And then why did you get into trucking? Because you saw Alex Nino and Just Trucking, and fucking, all these like rich famous YouTubers. That's what they are. They're rich famous YouTubers, right? And yeah, trucking, it probably helps them out, but their income is supplemented from their YouTube channel. And like I said, they're not telling you if their income is also supplemented by their wife, by mom, dad, the trust fund, the house that was gifted to them by their family. They're not going to tell you any of that, because if they did, it would probably literally kill off their YouTube channel. People would probably tune off. People would probably get it. Like if Just Trucking came out today and said, look, guys, yeah, I know I complain all the time that I'm not making money in trucking, but I'm actually in a trust fund, right? I've been in a trust fund for the past 20 years for my grandparents who owned a factory, right? And, they put all their assets into a trust, and all of us relatives, we've all been in this trust fund. If Just Trucking came out and said that, he would lose a lot of his audience, because a lot of people would just look at him like, oh, I'm not watching a owner operator struggling in today's trucking market. I'm watching some rich guy on YouTube in a trust fund that does this just I don't know, to make some side money or whatever. You know what I mean? People would walk away, right? If Alex Nino came out and said that, look, guys, yeah, I drive trucks, but I make a lot of money from my YouTube channel and my wife, and I'm a part owner in my uncle's trucking company. Like I've invested a lot of this YouTube money to buy up a piece of his trucking company. So I'm in some profit sharing with him, right? So I'm not just making money off the loads, I'm making money off of the company in general, my wife and my YouTube channel. And, the trucking paycheck, it helps, pennies of what, you know, of what everything else he has going on with his finances. They don't come out and tell you this. Be careful before you get into trucking, right? You might end up being the truck driver that gets into this and ends up leaving. You might end up getting into trucking and you might end up quitting, right? And you might end up going back to that warehouse job that you hated. You'd be surprised, guys. I'm telling you. You really would. Now, me, I'm going to stick it out. I've been on both sides of the coin. I've made a lot of money in trucking. I've made really good money in trucking at mega carriers. And then I've also made shit. I've been in situations where I've had like a $600 paycheck. You know what I'm saying? I've went on job interviews and have been turned down. And I've been told at some of these job interviews that there's 20 people after me for an interview for one driver position. You know what I mean? I'm making more money now. I'm investing into my referral bonuses to get more leads and shit. So I should be seeing way more money now. But just be careful with who you watch. A lot of people get onto YouTube, and one reason why people make YouTube videos is they like the attention. They do. We all do. I mean, to say that I don't like the attention that I get from YouTube, I'd be completely lying to you. I would. That's how you make money on YouTube. You make money on YouTube when you post something and people watch it. You literally need to be okay with people watching a video that you upload. If you upload a video and no one watches it, then you're a failed YouTuber. If if you've been in this shit for like 4 or 5 years and your videos are still getting just like 4 or 5 views, no one gives a fuck, you know what I'm saying? But me, compared to Logan Paul, no one gives a fuck about me, right? But I do make money every month on YouTube. When I started, I was making like $300 or $400 a month. Now I'm like $100 to $200 a month on YouTube, averaging around $150 a month. It's side fucking money. It's play money. It's nothing, right? But a lot of these people, they come onto YouTube and they like the attention. And they really like the attention if they're in a trust fund, if mommy and daddy helps them out, or if they just got real lucky, right? Some people who get into these high-paying trucking jobs, some of them just got in at the right time when the company was like on a mass hiring spree, and they applied at the right time, and they got in at the right time. You know what I'm saying? For example, right? A few years ago, UPS was on a mass hiring spree. I didn't have the experience because I was brand new into trucking, so I wasn't eligible to go to UPS. But some people were, and they got into UPS and fucking they're making shit. Some of them are making like $178,000 driving tractor trailers at UPS. You know, a lot of that extra money comes in during the holidays or whatever. I've been looking at UPS's website for a long time. I never see them hiring truck drivers at UPS. I just don't see. I don't see the job application open. I think it's a feeder driver or a tractor trailer driver or whatever. I never see that position open at UPS. Not just for California, but anywhere in the country. I never see them hiring feeder drivers on the UPS careers website, right? So some of these people that you watch on YouTube, or that you know they might be making a lot of money, understand that some of them just got lucky as well, right? Like I think Mr. By the Mile talks about it, that ABF isn't really hiring anymore, that they're looking for guys who have like 10 plus years. But he was able to get in when he was fairly new to trucking. Now, if you try to get into ABF freight right now, which is a good union job, and you're new to trucking like he was, you're probably not going to get in right now. He got lucky and he got in, right? And then he comes onto YouTube and brags about his house, about all this money that he's working, all this money that he's making from his union job, which he most likely is, right? But if he would have waited like a few months later, he probably wouldn't be over there. And he would probably be in the same boat as the rest of us, to where, you know, we're not making anywhere near someone at ABF or UPS, you know, a Teamster job is making, right? But if you watch someone like Just Trucking, Mr. By the Mile, just, you know, Alex Nino or whatever, and you think you're gonna fucking be able to buy a house within like 2 years of being a truck driver, dude, it's most likely not gonna happen. You know, I don't want to crush your dreams, but I want to be real with you guys. I want to be completely real with you guys. Trucking could be a great career. I'm going to stick it out in trucking. I thought about quitting. When I made that video talking about going back to school, at that time, when I recorded that video, I was dead fucking serious. I really was. That was a week, like a whole month, where I wasn't making shit. I wasn't making nothing. A lot of it was because we were in the winter and we weren't able to run hard like that. And, you know, I wasn't doing referral bonuses, right? I wasn't referring people, right? I wasn't utilizing all the ways to make money at my company like I am now. But, yeah, I mean, what I go through, you're going to go through in trucking. And what everyone else goes through, you're going to go through it. You're not immune from any of this shit. Just be careful, dude. A lot of these YouTubers, they're not going to tell you when shit's bad. A lot of these big glamorous YouTubers, the real big ones that you guys watch, they only want to post the good things about trucking. And even some of the quote unquote bad shit that they post, right? Like, say they post something about like their truck getting broken into. Well, big fucking deal. Because they're still posting about their house, all the money they make. You're still seeing the flashy car that they drive. You know what I'm saying? And if you think you're going to get into trucking and you're just going to land into that, you're most likely not going to be able to pull that off, especially just for the fact that you don't have that YouTube channel. You don't have 1 million subscribers. You don't have 100,000 subscribers. You're not getting those monthly views and that paycheck from Google, right? You're not getting that. You're not getting brand deals. Some of these motherfuckers have brand deals on their channel, right? You may not be married and you might not have the extra income from the wife. You may not be in the trust fund. You probably didn't get a house gifted to you. You know what I'm saying? You're not rich. You're not like FouseyTube or fucking Alex Nino or Vitali or Just Trucking. You see how I'm kind of lumping all these people together? Because they're all rich, famous YouTubers. And when you see people doing really good financially on the internet, especially in something that's real relatable like trucking, and not being like a prankster YouTuber, and or you're like, wow, Alex Nino's a truck driver. Well, I could go get my CDL right now and I could do what he's doing. You can't. You don't have 1 million subscribers. You're not married to a nurse or a dental hygienist. You don't got that going on, dude. You're not gonna have that Tesla Cybertruck. You're not gonna have that lifted truck. You're not gonna have this big old fucking house in California. You're not gonna have that, right? You're gonna, if you could become an owner operator or a company driver, let's say you become a company driver, you're gonna start off at Swift. You ain't gonna make shit for like your first year, right? After 6 months, you can become a mentor and start making good money. If you get on an account where you're going to be working your ass off, like Dollar Tree or Dollar General or a Family Dollar, to where you're like in the back of the trailer in the middle of the summer in Arizona or the Central Valley or fucking Las Vegas, and it's like 150 degrees in the back of the trailer, and you're rolling down case by case down a roller rack, and you got your student right there, like you're mentoring someone. So both of you guys smell like shit in the sleeper all week, right? And you don't go home until like once or twice a month for a 34-hour reset. Yeah, you do that in your first year at Night or Swift, then yeah, you'll make some money. You could make over $100,000 if you do that in your first year. But notice what I just said. You're going to be in the back of the hot ass trailer, bombing the freight with you and your student. You guys are going to be sleeping, smelling like shit in the same truck, you and your student. You're not going to be going home like that. Does that sound like Just Trucking or Alex Nino? Does it sound like them? No, dude. No, you're going to be living a shit life, but you'll be making money, but you're not going to be living this luxurious lifestyle like Just Trucking or Alex Nino. You're not going to be, that's not going to be you. Be real with your expectations in trucking, okay? You need to be real, right? And I want to be real with you. I can easily, like start going real hard with referrals. I could start submitting like 100 plus referrals a month. And if let's say I spend like $1,000 on marketing, right? And I start submitting a couple hundred referrals every month. If I start submitting, like let's say I take my whole paycheck, like $1,000, and I spend it all on marketing, on job boards and all that shit, right? And I start referring and I submit like a couple hundred referrals a month. Dude, I'll be making hell of money at JB Hunt, because out of like, let's say in a month, I submit 500 referrals. Even if 100 of those get in, right? Even if 30 of them get in, I'm not going to say what my company pays in referral bonuses because I don't know if I'm allowed to. But for example, let's just say, for example, it was $400 a pop or $1,000 a pop, a referral. And I'm able to get 30 of those referrals to go through after submitting 500 referrals. Dude, that's hella fucking money on top of my paycheck. Now, I could easily get on here and do that and show you guys a luxurious lifestyle, you know what I'm saying, and be hush-hush about how I really get my money. And then I could go out and marry some nurse or some dentist or whatever, and then really start flexing here on YouTube, right? And then what's that going to do? That's going to influence you to become a truck driver. And then are you going to be making the same amount of money that I'm making? Probably not. Probably not, That's what they're doing. You have to be careful. I'm going to read some of these comments. I got to get going. What's up, everybody that just joined? Hub group in the house. Started with JB Hunt and did my 8-week training. Trainers were so whack. Gross people, dirty as fuck. Sharing a day cab with a bunch of slobs. Never seen dirtier trucks. Left trucking after 4 months. You left trucking altogether after 4 months? Well, yeah, I mean, that happens. Granted, I knew it would be a dirty job, but a different dirty on topic. Here's lots of guys on my account or retired military getting government money and trucking money. Yeah, that's a lot. A lot of people do that. A lot of people get they collect a pension and then they'll go get another job, right? Whether it's a government military pension or a union trucking pension. Like, dude, when I was working in San Leandro, I was working with a retired Teamster from right here at Safeway in Tracy, and he was working that job in San Leandro, so he was double dipping, right? It took him a long time to get there, you know. You don't want to do flatbed? Maybe, not right now. Right now, I do want to go to bed, so be sure to smash the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel, and I hope that was a meaningful conversation, okay? I hope I'm being honest with you guys. You want to, this is just my car, but you want to become a truck driver, be realistic with your expectations. You're not going to be the next Alex Nino. You may be, if you're lucky, and you become a YouTuber and the algorithm likes you, maybe. And if you're married to like a nurse or, I don't know, or whatever, or a chick who's making like 70, 80 grand a year, and you're making 100 grand a year, and you two together are making like $250,000 a year, and you got other shit going on in your YouTube channel, yeah, you might. You might. But if you're just gonna get into trucking and just start at Swift and save up money to become an owner-operator, you might end up quitting trucking. You might end up leaving the industry altogether. Peace out. Be sure to smash the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next live stream or video. Peace.